All right, let's break down what's really happening behind the headlines. You won't believe what's going on in Britain right now. It sounds like something out of a comedy sketch, except it's deadly serious. The police have essentially just given a green light to thieves, and people are finding out the hard way. I used to be on the inside at one of those major media corporations where the narrative is king and the facts are flexible. I saw how they shaped stories, how they decided what you should think. I had to walk away. Now I'm independent. I answer to no one but the truth, and I'm here to tell you what really matters. If you believe in that mission, if you want unvarnished truth, please take a second to hit the like button and subscribe. And if you're in a position to do so, consider becoming a sponsor of this channel. Your support is the only thing that keeps this independent platform going, and it means the world to me. So let's get into this madness in the UK. The media is reporting that thefts of bicycles and possibly even cars right outside of train stations will no longer be investigated. And get this, the security camera footage won't even be reviewed if the vehicle was left unattended for more than 2 hours. Think about that. Thousands of commuters drive or cycle to a station every single day, leave their vehicle in a parking lot and head off to work. But now, when they come back in the evening, they might be in for a nasty surprise. Their ride is just gone. Someone else has taken it. This isn't just a hypothetical. It happened to a 39-year-old British man. First, one of his bikes was stolen, and then, not long after, the second one vanished. He realized that if he didn't make some noise, he'd spend the rest of his life just buying new bikes for criminals. He reported the theft immediately, but his attempt to raise the alarm hit a brick wall. The police flat out refused to investigate his case, and their reason was that his bike had been left unattended for 10 hours. Too much time had passed, they said. Who are they supposed to look for and where? The fact that there were security cameras right there changed nothing. The victim was, understandably, in total shock. This policy is basically a public invitation to steal bikes, and it turns out there are thousands of these cases. British journalists have already launched their own investigation to expose just how widespread this is. And while law and order seems to be taking a holiday in Britain, another well-known figure is facing some consequences. Eco-activist Greta Thunberg is set to be deported to Greece on October 7th. This decision comes after she was detained by the Israeli military on October 1st. You might recall Thunberg complaining about her conditions in custody, claiming she didn't have enough food or water and was bothered by insects and hard seats. Israel, of course, denies all these accusations. The deportation is being paid for by the Greek authorities, who are also covering the removal of 27 other Greek citizens who were part of the same flotilla. Israel is calling the whole event a propagandist provocation. Now shifting gears to the heart of Europe, Brussels, where Ursula von der Leyen is under serious pressure. The European Parliament is gearing up for a vote of no confidence against the head of the European Commission. The motion was put forward by a very strange coalition of the right-wing Patriots for Europe and the far left. So once again, there's a major push to oust von der Leyen. The debates kicked off today and the actual vote is scheduled for this coming Thursday. What unites these two opposing political forces? A furious reaction to the trade agreement between the European Union and the United States, which they see as incredibly disadvantageous for Europe. They are also incensed by Brussels' promise to spend $750 billion on American energy and invest another $600 billion in the American market. A recent poll showed that 52% of Europeans called this deal a humiliation for Europe. Von der Leyen herself has admitted the agreement isn't perfect, but she insists it's strong enough to withstand a trade crisis. Both the Patriots and the left are also deeply concerned about the free trade agreement with the Mercosur countries in South America, a deal finalized last December. They believe it will have a devastating impact on European farmers. Beyond those shared grievances, however, the right and the left are miles apart. The Patriots for Europe are furious with the European Commission's handling of the illegal migration crisis and what they call a misguided environmental policy. Meanwhile, the far left is hammering Brussels for its complete failure to address the climate and social crises, as well as the ongoing turmoil in the gas sector. So, we'll be watching very closely to see how this plays out. But if you think that's chaotic, just look at what's happening in France. It's a total political meltdown. The Prime Minister, Sébastien Lecornu, has resigned before he even really got started. The most incredible part is that he announced his resignation just a few hours after presenting his new government cabinet. The French president accepted the resignation of the 40-year-old politician who had been in office for less than a month. Let that sink in. It was the shortest term for a prime minister in the entire history of France. According to French media, this decision was prompted by threats of a no-confidence vote from several opposition parties who were determined to bring down the cabinet. The political crisis is only getting worse. The leader of the far-left France Unbowed party, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, is demanding an immediate vote on impeaching President Emmanuel Macron himself following Lecornu's resignation. And he's not alone. The vice chairman of the Republican Party, David Lisnard, has joined the call, also demanding that Macron step down. Marine Le Pen weighed in, stating that in the current situation, Macron's resignation would be a wise decision, though she admitted that's not really his style. But she insisted that at the very least, the French president absolutely must dissolve the parliament. Of course, nobody really thinks Macron is going anywhere. In the meantime, the leader of the French right, Jordan Bardella, is also demanding the dissolution of parliament and snap elections after Lecornu's sudden exit. The whole world is watching to see what happens next in France and who will even dare to take the job of prime minister. And almost at the same time, over in Germany, Chancellor Friedrich Merz is openly showing his frustration. He's even threatening to boycott the Eurovision Song Contest if Israel is barred from participating. According to Merz, excluding Israel would be a scandal, and in that case, Germany should refuse to take part. The German Chancellor finds it scandalous that this is even a topic of discussion. How is this possible? Israel is part of this community, he emphasized. On a much more serious note, Friedrich Merz also believes that Germany will be forced to reintroduce mandatory military service. He says that over time, it will become unavoidable. These are the times we live in. We need to be ready for the challenges, he stated. This service would apply to both men and women. Merz is strongly opposing the current proposal from Defense Minister Boris Pistorius, which only calls for a voluntary system. Now, here's where it gets even more alarming. The German Chancellor suspects that Russia is involved in the recent appearance of drones over airports in Germany, including the ones that disrupted dozens of flights and delayed over 10,000 passengers at Munich airport. He claims the frequency of these incursions into European airspace is unprecedented, even compared to the Cold War. However, Merz believes that none of the drones spotted so far were armed. They were all on reconnaissance missions, just gathering critical information. Meanwhile, fear is growing among German politicians about the possible rise to power of the right-wing alternative for Germany party, the AfD. The vice president of the Social Democratic Party, Serpil Midyatli, who is a staunch advocate for banning the AfD, spoke about her personal fears of what would happen if they came to power. Speaking about the German-Turkish community, she warned that they would be the first to face persecution, deportations, and so on, if the right wing takes control. And as we know from recent polls, the AfD is gaining significant support, which is causing a proportional rise in fear among its opponents. Now let's cross the Atlantic to the United States, where Donald Trump has announced layoffs due to the country's budget crisis. The ongoing budget blockade in Congress has led to the first round of dismissals of government employees. Trump, of course, is pinning the blame squarely on the Democrats, accusing them of causing these job losses. As everyone knows, this so-called shutdown has forced about 750,000 federal employees into unpaid leave. The only exceptions are essential services like air traffic control, police, border guards, and emergency medical services. Trump had been threatening mass layoffs from the beginning if the shutdown dragged on, but now, as everyone can see, the process has started and is picking up steam. Speaking on the deck of an aircraft carrier, Donald Trump declared, "We need to deal with the little mosquito that's sitting on our shoulder." That's the Democrats. They want to give all our money to illegal migrants, he claimed, referring to the large numbers of people who have entered the country. He went on to say that he has a bigger heart than they do. But the problem is, if you act that way, they will come by the millions. Everyone will want that, but you can't get money that way, the former president emphasized. Despite the current shutdown, which he blames on the Democrats, Trump promised to provide all military personnel with everything they need. And then, in what has to be one of the most bizarre announcements in recent political history, Donald Trump announced a duel to be held on the grounds of the White House to celebrate his birthday next year. A UFC mixed martial arts fight will take place on June 14, 2026, when Donald Trump turns 80. "I can't wait. It's going to be something epic," he announced. It's worth noting that Trump has long been known for his love of combat sports and has often attended tournaments as a spectator. So, we'll see what happens next. As we've all come to understand, it will never be boring. So these are the key developments right now, and they speak volumes about the state of our world. We've talked about the shocking new police policy in the UK that seems to encourage theft at train stations. We've seen the French government implode in record time, triggering a major political crisis. We're watching Ursula von der Leyen fight for her political life in Brussels under pressure from both the left and the right. In Germany, there's growing anxiety over Russian provocations and the rise of the far right. And in the US, Donald Trump is blaming Democrats for a government shutdown while planning a UFC fight at the White House for his 80th birthday. Write your opinion in the comments. Let me know what you think about everything that's happening. I wish you all a peaceful sky. And before you go, please, if you found this report valuable, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you can, think about becoming a sponsor. It's your support that allows me to keep doing this, to stay independent and bring you the real story. Thank you for watching.